Hello and welcome to TABNation. TABNation is the podcast for Trekkers Against Bullying. If you don't know what Trekkers Against Bullying is, we are an organization of Star Trek fans that are actually out looking at the problem of bullying within the fandom. We also, of course, look at the bullying out into the universe too, but we actually are looking a lot at the issues that we're having within the fandom, looking at adult bullying. And today we're very lucky to have with us, and I'm so excited about this because I am a Deep Space Nine #1 fan. We've got Nana Visitor with us. Nana, we're so happy to have you here on the program today.
Thanks, Rex. I'm very happy to be here.
Great. So we are going to discuss a few things about bullying and what we see that's going on out there. Some of the things that we were talking about earlier is that we're seeing a lot of the adult bullying going on that sometimes doesn't draw the attention that we get with some of the younger people's bullying that goes on, and we see it within the fandoms, not just within Star Trek, but several of the fandoms that are out there, that there is an issue with fans that, they're very excited about being fans, but they tend to want to be more possessive of the fandom itself. And when we get newer people on, or we get other people that just aren't as much educated about the fandom. I mean, I've been a fan since 1973, and there's still a lot of stuff I don't know. Okay. I'm not the total super fan that can tell you, the intermix of warp core and all that kind of stuff where, you've got all these people that can do that. So we're seeing that go on a lot right now. And so, one of the things we want to talk about with you is what you're seeing out there and what you're hearing out there.
Well, first of all, it's always disturbing to hear about bullying, and especially in the Star Trek world, because that's not my experience of it. To a certain extent, yes. Have I gotten bullied online? Have I gotten bullied in person? Yes, but I would say, just like in any society, it's about maybe 2%. And that 2% of people who will do that is so little compared to the vast majority of really advanced humans that I've met in the Star Trek world, who are both audience members and people who are connected to the show creatively. So I've only experienced a small amount. I've experienced much more this positive thing. It's hierarchical. People actually get a hit of a feel-good chemical when they put someone below them. They get a little hit of serotonin. And if you understand that it's just a chemical thing that our bodies do from ancient times to try to make ourselves feel important, you can put it into perspective and go, there are other ways to get this chemical going other than making someone else feel bad. And really what I've experienced, I went to an amazing place about 6 weeks ago, ESA, the European Space Agency over in Germany. And what I experienced there was as close to Starfleet as possible. People who are completely diverse and who are interested in collaborating on problem solving, on looking at things realistically and coming up with solutions to problems that the Earth has and space has. So, really, diversity is the only, first of all, I would be bullied in the fandom world because I know nothing. I know nothing of the facts and this and that, but I know the heart of it. And I know that to be sustainable, we need diversity. That's just a plain and simple mathematical fact. We need diversity in our world, and we need the young people, and we need people who can recognize the humanity of Star Trek, as well as all the technical aspects. And we need the people who may be neurodiverse, who connect very much to the things that I wouldn't even remember for a million years. So we need everybody.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And, we know that Star Trek is all about that. IDIC is our main principle. And that's the very important thing. And that's where, sometimes I have a difficult issue with when people within Star Trek don't see that. They don't see that IDIC is what we're all about. And when we don't follow that, we're not following what the original fandom or the original creation of Star Trek was even about, and
there's a way of dealing with people. This is just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
There is a political activist by the name of Loretta Ross, who talks about, instead of calling people out
mm-hmm.
and, cancel culture and all this stuff, call them in by saying, I see you online and I see you love this thing. So do I. But why is it necessary? Trying to make connections with people who don't understand and who are very different. Even you saying, I don't know why they don't get this. Maybe tell them, maybe explain why it's important in a way that doesn't diminish anybody.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah. I think that's some of the issues. I think that's some of the issues that we see as people, like we were talking earlier, don't know how to react. And then they react badly, okay, instead of reacting in a positive way. And that's kind of what TAB is about, is trying to help people realize there are positive ways to do this at that point. Right. So absolutely.
And what you just said is it,
yep.
Not reacting, but responding. Reacting is just visceral feeling to try to protect yourself. Responding is thoughtful and using your brain, which always needs to be engaged when we interact with each other.
Absolutely. So Ellie, you've had some experiences with bullying. We were just talking about that earlier. And why don't you give us a little bit of what's gone on with you and what you've seen out there yourself being experienced with it?
Well, I was bullied about 13 years of my life. Even now, I live with the bullies in the same city. And even when I am outside of my house and went to shopping, they start approaching me and saying stuff like that. I don't deserve be there. And also they just bullied me because I have a dream. And actually, a funny thing is, when the two girls who bullied me messaged me last 2 weeks ago, and they want to apologize what they did to me, but I have the feeling that if I accept the apology, they will do this again. So I am just well, I don't know if I should accept the apology or not. So I would love to ask Nana, what would you do in my place? So
well, what was the nature of the apology? Was it that they realized something that they've actually shifted their understanding of what they had done?
Yeah. I think they realized after the FetCon photos, we met together, and they maybe realized that I am capable of making the dreams come true. So maybe they want to apologize because of that, and also they want to become a friend again. And but I wasn't a friend with them there, but in that way, and I just feel like they have their chance to help me stand up against other classmates. So I don't know what
what comes to me, what I would do is say, I appreciate and hope that this is really a shift for you. But right now, I'm not ready to have a relationship, but I appreciate you. Thank you for that. But maybe in the future at some time, because it doesn't seem that that's something that you want. So why should you?
Yeah, okay. And also I have many questions, but one of the question is, and also a commentary. I was cooking one of the recipe that you write me, and me and my mom was in the kitchen, and we was listening to Gates McFadden podcast where you share your experience, what happened to you. And my mom was asking me, because she doesn't understand much English, and she was like, oh, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, Nina is sharing her story, what happened to you, what happened to her. And she was like, oh, what happened? So I briefly translate your story to Czech, and she was like, whoa, are you joking? And I was like, I wish I could joking about it, but I am not. And she was standing there watching me and telling me that she's glad that I found in you as a Major Kira in Star Trek, and as an inspiration, good inspiration. And my question is, how you stay the amazing person after what you've been through, because I met you and you are just amazing with fans, and my friend was telling me the same, and I would love to know that.
Well, first of all, Ellie, thank you so much. I don't consider myself amazing. I consider myself absolutely human. But my clawing my way back from that experience was the cultivating of who I am. I worked very hard to understand myself and what I needed to live with, what I could live with, what I needed to shift in myself. And I changed a lot of things about myself. And I changed a lot of things of what I thought were important. And once I did that, it was important to me to bring it to other people. Whatever worked for me to connect and bring it to young people. And not just young people, but I see so many young women in particular who have anxiety and pain over things that I got myself through and see from another perspective now. And I feel it's not even like I want to, it's like I have to share that.
And I love that about you, that you start, I was listening to some of the interviews, and you start your Instagram account because of how you see how many people with anxiety and stuff like that. And what I love about you, that you are responding to every comment under your videos, and about the inspiring people. When I write the fan book for you with the others, I can see that Major Kira have amazing opportunity to speak with many people or young women, because I especially with the fans and stuff like that, and we just love you as a Major Kira. So you are a great inspiration, and I'm glad we finally met at FedCon. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Major Kira wasn't just me, it was amazing writers. It was whoever allowed her to be, because I was always thinking, oh my God, they're stop me now because I'm going too far with this character. At the time, it was pretty it was pretty, it just wasn't the way women were portrayed for the most part on television back then. So I'm grateful to all the people who allowed her the space to live. There were some incredible writers there. So yeah, and I'm glad she's there as an example of, you know, this Bajoran woman really made it clear what human women, how much the full spectrum they can take up, how much space they can take up.
Right.
And I bullying, that is one of the worst things that, you know, I thought about this, Ellie. How many minutes a day are you bullied if you really think about it? And how many minutes, how many hours a day does it affect you? Do you carry it with you and let yourself, it's not let yourself, but it happens that we, because I've been bullied too, and I know what it feels like. For me, this is what it felt like, that I put myself in a box to be safe, and more and more and more. And then my mind is taken up with this person who is affecting my life, instead of me taking my own space in the world and pushing them right out of it.
Yep. Absolutely.
I know, Kat, you've had some issues with it too. You know, we've talked a lot about your issues with it and some of the things that it's caused you. Too.
Oh yeah. I mean, when you allow another person to live rent free in your brain, you know, they can really wreak havoc there, and it really starts to erode your sense of self-worth and all of the values that you hold and everything that you love. It starts to just whittle away at that. And I think that, you know, growing up, like I came out as gay when I was 14. You know, it was during a time when not a lot of kids were doing it, and I was brave enough to say, this is who I am, and I suffered for it. But you know, the thing is about the bullying that I experienced is that it was very insidious. It was very subtle. It was very behind closed doors. It was a lot of whispers behind your back and girls turning away in the locker room during swim unit, and you know, just a lot of that kind of thing. And I didn't really know what to do with it. I just, so all I could do was just, I was a theater kid. I threw myself onto the stage. I spent every waking hour behind the curtain, and I just did what Nana suggested, is that I focused on the things that I love, and I put all of my heart and soul into that. And before I knew it, the bullies, I couldn't hear them anymore. I couldn't see them anymore. They just weren't there. And I moved on. And you know what? And after high school and you grow up, I joined the military, and you know what? There's bullies in the military too.
Oh yeah.
And I ran into my fair share of bullies in the Army. I really did. And a lot of people don't like to talk about that kind of stuff, but it's true. So it's just a matter of doing the same thing. You just keep focused on what you know is the right thing to do. You focus on the people around you who do support you. And like Nana is saying, the ratio, the proportion of people out there who are bullies versus the good people out there who are supportive and kind and get the message of Star Trek and understand the vision that Gene Roddenberry had for society. Those people are by leaps and bounds, so many more people out there. I mean, I've been going to the Star Trek convention in Vegas since I was 17. I'm 32 now. So it's been about 16 years since I started going. And one of the reasons I started going to that convention was to make new friends and to make Star Trek friends, to make friends within the community that I love. And I did just that. And, you know, and just, that was a healing experience, just being able to be around people I could talk to about these nerdy things, you know, my favorite starship, my favorite episode, my favorite captain, you know, all of those things that bring us together as fans. And, you know, like Rex was saying earlier, the message of Star Trek, that infinite diversity and infinite combinations, it doesn't really mean what a lot of people think it means. And I think a lot of us go back to what Gene Roddenberry himself said about it. And like Nana is saying, diversity is so important.
I think she froze on us. So,
and I think
absolutely. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
But it's a legit fact. Yeah. So it's just a matter of seeing solutions through that dark darkness. I mean, if you can see that light at the end of the tunnel, even the smallest light, it can guide you. And I think that, Ellie, you are a bright light in this fandom. And I think that it's really a shame that when we saw, I saw the comments that the girls were making toward her on Instagram, their apology. And let me tell you, it was pretty hollow. It was, oh, let's just say we're sorry and get it over with. And let's just move on. And what's her problem? She can't just get over it. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that because, I haven't, it was awful. It was really hollow and fake. And then they got upset with her because she didn't just cave and say, oh yeah, of course, I forgive you. And let's all be friends again. And, Ellie has the right as the victim in the situation to set her boundaries and say, I may accept your apology, but that doesn't mean I have to accept your presence in my life, or that I have to accept any further abuse or any of this kind of behavior in the future. And so these girls are getting the message that it's not okay. There are consequences when you hurt somebody. And sometimes that means that you lose access to that person. And those are consequences. And hopefully they'll learn from this. Hopefully they see, we really did do some damage here. And maybe they'll do that inner work going forward. But that's not for Ellie to do. It's not her job to do that work for them. It's their job. And I think that all of us are on that journey. Yep. Great.
I would go even further and say it's not just a victim that has a right to boundaries. It's everyone all the time. Whatever those boundaries are, you get to have them. You get to take up that space. And Kat's really made this clear. Yeah, you don't. It's not up to you to make them feel better about what they did. They sometimes, and I see this a lot. People, me too. I don't like to have uncomfortable feelings. I don't like feeling like I've done something wrong, but sometimes you have to sit with it. You just have to sit with it, accept it, and move through it.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Then I was going to ask you, for those of us who haven't heard the podcast with Gates or haven't heard your story, would you mind just going back and telling us a little bit about that story so that our viewers can get a sense of what you've been through? Basically, when my son was 2 years old, I was living, we were living in the hills, and I was doing Deep Space Nine at the time. I was recently divorced, and 2 men followed me home because we had very late hours. It was around 2 a.m. And they took me at gunpoint, and it was and put me in their car, which was kidnapping. So they got a lot of time for the kidnapping, actually more than for the rapes. But that was, and they have done their time, and it was a very long time that I went and testified against them. And then I went back to work, and it was devastating and intense, and having a cocked 9mm to your head changes your life. It changed my life, but I didn't deal with it for years. I had this trauma, and I didn't deal with it for years and years until I found an amazing doctor who took me through exposure therapy. And it doesn't work for everybody, but it certainly worked for me. Good. And not only did she take me through it, but she gave me tools, she gave me books, she gave me John Kabat-Zinn. She gave me all these things because, and I think that's such an important idea. You don't just take something away, you fill the space so that it takes its own proper perspective. So even with bullying, with people in your life that aren't kind or are just outright aggressive, it's hard to think of taking them away or running away from them. So you just add so many more positive people
so that you have their voices and their support in your head instead of just these people, so that they just are in 2% of your brain instead of 100% of your brain. And that's why I was so pleased to see you in Germany, Ellie, making friends, wonderful ones.
I did, and
Some humans I know who are so good.
And you also know them, and me and Rika, and from the server, Safi server as well, we will be doing the cruise with you and Michelle. So we are so excited to be there.
That
and
will
also,
yes.
and also, as you say, and also I will be moving soon to the US, so I won't be meeting them anymore. So and also I have to say, the FetCon opened my eyes, and I did the catwalk with your cosplay as the Commander Kira, and it's opened my eyes to be more confident in my body. And also meeting you and Michelle was the best inspiration for me, because after I went home, I told my mom everything that you and Michelle done for me, and she was so happy for me. And I say, Mom, I am completely different person than I was before the FetCon. So now I am on TikTok making cosplay videos in the intended cosplay, Kira cosplay, Janeway, and your Kira costume. And also I'm making more, and it's one of the Bejaran uniform as well. So that's on the process.
Yes. You know, Ellie, something else. I was interviewing Mary Wiseman for my book on the women of Star Trek. And she said something very interesting to me that I found true for myself. And it may be a thought that's occurred to you. And if it hasn't, it can really help. That when we are brave by being who we are, no matter what the reaction is, we are not doing just ourselves a service, but other people who feel sidelined, who can see you on the catwalk and go, wait a minute, Ellie's doing it, I can do that too. So that you can be an example for so many other people, both men and women, or however they identify. And that thought in your head can make you brave in the moments that you don't feel very brave.
Yeah, and actually I received some of the messages that some of the people are plus size cosplayers, but they are so scared to putting videos out. And I actually inspired them to, because they can see me how confident I am in those cosplays, and happy that to meeting my favorite actors in those cosplays. And actually I received some of the messages that because of me they are just feeling great about themselves, and they are happy to do the cosplays. So that's something amazing. And yeah,
that's huge. That's huge. That is dropping your stone in the lake and having big ripples. You know, there's something about our brains, and it makes a lot of sense that what we see, what we pay attention to, is the negative in our lives. And we do that because the negative can be dangerous if we are, you know, and it's our ancient brains that are set up this way. Because, you know, if we don't run from the tiger and look out for the tiger, it's more important. The tiger's going to kill us. Seeing flowers is not a threat. So we may not see the flowers because we're so busy looking for tigers. But now that we are in this world, this time, it's really important that we cultivate that ability to see the flowers. So what you just told me is something to let expand in your mind and let give you courage in the future, that it means so much to other people as well as you.
Also, I need to say, you when we start, I was waking up for your Christmas live stream on Cameo. You open my way because someone recorded the part that I asked about the bullying stuff and stuff like that. And I posted to my Instagram page for you. And people keep asking me if I can help them. So I decided to do my own Instagram page about bullying, where I received so many messages about if I can help them. Maybe it was the parents with the kids who are bullied. And it's not from my country, but from the US. And I was so shocked that one of the teachers in the New York school wants me to do the presentations about how I stand up against bullying and who helped me. And so I did, and I presented the presentation for the kids in New York, one of the New York schools. So I want to make sure that I need to say thank you for opening this way. And thanks to you, I found the Trackers Against Bullying, and I joined, and here we are. We have you as on podcast, and yeah. So this is what I want to tell you as well.
That's amazing. That's really amazing.
And that's the whole idea. That's the whole idea of TAB, is to form those support groups. You know, that's why we have it, is to form that support group, because Ellie is such a outstanding example of, just within, I don't know, the couple months that I've known her, just with the positivity that she has been given from us and the positivity from the group. She's become a different person in a lot of ways. She went to FedCon and was able to stand up with her cosplay and say, you know what, this is who I am, and I'm fine with it, and you all need to be fine with it, right? And so we were so excited for her to go there. And so we have seen her become that example for a lot of other people within the group, that, hey, you know what, you can get past this. It might take a little while, but you can get past it. Plus you have a lot of people to help defend you, okay, that can give you what you need. Your support group is here. You know, I was bullied as a younger person, you know, when I was in junior high school and grade school. Star Trek and nerdism, if you want to call it, was not a big thing back then. I mean, you know,
right.
Right, exactly. You know, and I dealt with times of being put in trash cans and wearing and everybody thinks about that, but that's what happened, and the swirlies in the toilet and things like that would happen within school. And the fact that, you know, I was such a fan of Star Trek that, you know, I would wear my own homemade uniform. That really is probably one of my most sacred things I have. Because at that time period, 72, 73, nobody was making uniforms for us. And we were just kind of getting what you could and do what you could, you know, and I go to school in it, all proud about it and everything like that. And then you would have the people that just did not accept the person that I was. And back in that time period, it was even harder, you know, to be accepted, because now at least there's so much more going on. There's so much more groups that are out there, that when I was younger, you know, I might have had a couple of people at school that were kind of like me, but not that many. So I spent a lot of time, you know, by myself, you know, but luckily I had Star Trek to go home every day to, you know, came in on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd go home and watch it. And, you know, it always made me feel better about the future, and knew that things were going to be better, you know, and that I could get beyond that. And finally, I learned that, I learned that from a couple of friends of mine that, you know what, you just have to, get it in your mind. Like you said, you got to push some of that negativity out, and you've got to discover what you are and how special you are. And I think a lot of times people just don't do that.
But you can't just push
No,
negativity out.
no.
That's
Right.
such a concept. You
Yep.
have to fill your mind
Absolutely. With the positive, Absolutely.
So let me
Absolutely.
ask you something,
Yeah.
Rex.
Yes.
Back in the day, did you in your heart believe what the bullies were saying about you?
Oh, absolutely. I did. Absolutely. I did. I mean, it was very hurtful, and it stayed with me, and it stayed with me for a long time,
Did you
Probably-
examine? I mean, what were the things? What did they say about you? What was it that was wrong with you according to them?
Well, that I was strange, that was always the big thing. I was strange. I was odd. How can you not be normal? It was kind of like always that thing of that you're not
Right.
normal compared to the rest of us. And that's the biggest thing is that, and especially in that time period, a lot of people will tell you, you're just not the same as everybody else. Why are you so different? And that's what was very hurtful. I'm not different. I have feelings just like you do. I love people. I dislike people just like you do. Okay. But you just felt like they always tried to take you they wanted to put you in that place by yourself, and so I felt like I was by myself a lot,
I experienced that. Certainly playing Major Kira, I experienced that.
Yeah.
And that I was not normal, that I was not fitting into this very narrow, herded together, reasonable place of what people expected a woman to behave like, look like,
right,
feel like.
Right.
And I know that feeling of going, something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
And that's what bullies can do. They can make us believe there's something wrong with us.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I think that when we take the time to examine ourselves, and now we have all this information to make us understand there are spectrums of behavior, of sexuality.
Yep.
There are spectrums. There is no normal. There is no such thing other than narrow space that people want to herd us into. That just really doesn't work. There's very few people in terms of body type, in terms of everything.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
we're all existing we are all normal because being diverse is actually normal.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely it is. And I was lucky enough to have a good high school teacher that talked to me a lot. And he was a nerd too, at heart too. It was kind of funny because my first day of junior high school, I walked in and there was an episode of Star Trek, the original series, that has to deal with the children. And I can't think the full, see, here I go. I'm not the nerd either, so I can't even think of the episode, but I can tell you that it was about the grubs and the onlys. And it was about the kids and the disease for the older people, that as they got older, they got the disease. So there weren't any adults there. And he actually had stuff up on the board and said, welcome to all the onlys. Okay. Which was the term for those children. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, wow, this guy's into Star Trek. And I started talking to him more about it. And he started to build that relationship. And he started talking to me and telling me how much of a special person I was. That, I wasn't going to be, I wasn't, he did kind of the same thing you were talking about, that there is no normal. Don't worry about being normal. Worry about being yourself. Okay. That's, I think a lot of times people do when they get put into this, you're not normal. Then they try to be somebody who they aren't. Okay. And then that doesn't work for them either,
No, it really doesn't. But I have a photo on my wall here that I have. I had this person who's in a Star Trek uniform. He's not in Star Trek, but he's in uniform. And I had him sign it for me. And I guess he would be considered, nerd is such a strange word.
Yeah.
But I guess he considered that. But he is the head of the European Space Agency.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They are all Star Trek fans.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
So these
Absolutely.
are brilliant people figuring out how to grab space junk and, you know, get rid of it. They are looking at, you know, our Earth and saving us with all the information that comes at us from satellites, figuring out how things that I don't even think about.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they are nerds. Well, no, they're just brilliant.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gonna save us all.
Absolutely. They are going to save us all. Absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the big thing about it. So I think, you know, a lot of things, like I said, just kind of looking at the fandom a little bit and things that I'm seeing. And one good example that just happened the other day is that there was a new episode, and usually you see it always around new episodes of the new genre. And that's probably where I see a lot of the bullying going on, is that if you like this show, then you're not a true Star Trek person, because, you know, there are those people out there that are quote unquote the canon people. Okay. And that's not canon.
Right.
We saw a lot of stuff with Discovery doing that. When Discovery came on, everybody was like, wait a minute, that technology doesn't work in that time frame. And we've had these offshoot time frames and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's where everybody's having some issues. But what I see is a lot of these people are not forgiving of that. In my feeling is, we're lucky that we got Star Trek on the air. You know, what I always try to tell people is I grew up through a period of having nothing but reruns. Loved the show. I had nothing new except maybe the animated series for a little while. Okay. So I feel I'm very blessed by all this Star Trek we have right now. And yeah, some of it I could always go back and say, hey, this doesn't work, or that doesn't work. I don't care. It's Star Trek. Okay. And that's what matters.
The thing, I know that the way we shot Deep Space Nine was very mindful of the people who would be watching it, because we knew they would be watching it carefully, and it made us more intent on paying attention to the details. I think it was a bonus for us.
Right.
It was good. It was a good.
Right.
And I think again, the Star Trek audience needs to call the new shows in instead of call them out.
Right.
Don't hope they go off the air, but let them understand that you're watching, that the science matters.
Absolutely.
That, you know, these things are important to us.
Absolutely.
That's the relationship that makes this show so unique, I think.
Right. And that's where we kind of look at the people that are like issues. Like there was just one call out, a bullying comment the other day, just because they changed a uniform that was different from the old uniform. Okay. Because, you know, they're all taking their creative license to do things. And they're like, why is this so different? And somebody else said, I hate it and it's bad. And then there's this fight that starts to ensue back and forth. And it's like, who cares? You know, it really comes down to who cares. Why is this important? I get it that maybe you're in love with that uniform, but at the same time, it's still, the fact is that the bickering and some of that stuff that goes on just needs to stop. You know, well, it's like
they just sewed that uniform and now it's gone.
Yeah. I know. They showed it in what I was really laughing about it. And, you know, as well as I do, they've had a ton of different uniform changes. And especially just across it, you know, we used to have one uniform and you kept it forever. And now we have so many different changes. Discovery changes one every season. And so, you know, it's the changes that are going to happen. So we as fans just have to accept that there's going to be changes in the fandom and just kind of move along with it and be happy about it. But don't go after somebody just because they don't like what you like. Okay. Or they don't know what you know, you know?
Right.
I have the experience because I love the second season of Picard more than the first season. And when I told on the group, I like the second season better, they just went, why? Just because of some
personal
character change? And I was like, well, it's just my opinion. Just get, if you can accept it, so get over it. And the same thing is, as I told, I post my cosplay plans for the FedCon to one group on Facebook. And some of the comments are nice. There was like asking if I made those uniforms, and I was like, yes, I made them. But there is two comments was about, why do you cosplay Janeway? She was the worst captain ever. And I was like, maybe for you, but for me, she is an inspiration in my life. The same thing was the intendant one. Why don't you cosplay the intendant? You don't have the right body for it. And I was like, okay, so maybe I don't have right the body for the intendant cosplay, but I love doing the intendant cosplay to be completely different from Kira. So what cosplay Kira I do. So it's the mirror universe. So sometimes I also get inspiration from mirror universe Kira when last time when I met my classmates on the street, and they start doing like, well, you don't deserve be there, and going like that. So I get up and tell them, well, maybe I don't have the right, don't have right to be there, but you know what? I met some of amazing people, amazing actors that they care about me. So, and as you say in anatomy on the meet and greet, I have to stand up for myself. So I did. And yeah, that's because I got inspiration from Kira and the intendant as well, because I can see that Kira stand up against the Cardassian. So why would I just stand up for myself against the bullying? So I did, and since then they are just, when they meet me on the street, they are big around me. So
yeah, it stops working when they stop getting the effect that they want, which is an emotional reaction.
Yep.
It just is boring. And I like the way you spoke. You said in both instances, yeah, you may feel that way, but this is what I get out of it. And responding with a real what's really going on for you in a vulnerable way. It's just your truth. I think it's that's powerful, that's courageous. And that also makes it no fun to bully you anymore.
Yeah,
You're right.
Render them powerless.
You just take the wind right out of their sails, you know?
Yeah, exactly. We render them powerless when we do that. You know, like you were saying before, it's a certain part of their brain where it makes them enjoy what they're doing. When we eliminate that, then they don't want to do it anymore, and they will avoid you. Okay, because they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go towards her. She's going to put me in a bad mood because I can't bully her, you know, at that point. Yeah. So absolutely, that's great, Ellie, that you've gotten to that point.
You know what is funny, guys? I met them yesterday, like old classmates, and he's a man, and he can't pay the shopping they have full of food, but he can't pay for it. So his girlfriend have to pay for it. I was like, what? You just bullying me for my dreams, and you can afford the food that you are eating. I was like, well,
sometimes there's a reason. There's a reason, and we're seeing that.
Yeah.
We're seeing that there's a reason behind the bullying. I mean, you know, with what's going on in the world right now, we're also seeing where bullying is affecting people. I mean, we've had so many, and I don't really want to go into a whole bunch of the shootings and stuff like that. But when we actually look at the history of those people that have done those, there's been some bullying in their background. Okay, at that point. And that's not giving them all the excuses for what they've done. But at the same time, we're seeing that there is a effect that lasts and can cause issues at that point. And that's one of the reasons, as if you are a bully out there and you're watching this, you are not realizing what sometimes you can actually cause somebody to do over this. And sometimes it isn't that they become introverted, they become violent. And that's the other thing that we've got to watch too with it.
Well, also, I think what you were starting to bring up is that bullies themselves are like, you know, tigers with a thorn in their paw. There is something going on for them.
Absolutely.
There's a pain they're trying to get over.
Absolutely.
And not that you have to have sympathy for that when you're being bullied by them, but a certain understanding of, you know, that they're not powerful.
Right.
They are mostly hurting.
Yeah.
Something happened. What happened? Something happened.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, we're running out of time, but I wanted to say how great it is to have you here. We know you're a big supporter of TAB. You've already told Ellie that and got the signs and everything. And our whole thing is to just, like I said, bring it up to attention to people. Let them realize what's going on out there. Make sure that they realize, you know, what they're saying sometimes may be hurtful to somebody else. And then also just to bring up the fact that within our fandom, it's just not acceptable, you know, and we've got to do something about it. And we've got to help the people who are being bullied. And that's the main reason for TAB, is to have that support group that if somebody is having that issue, they can come to us. Ellie's a great example of it. Kat's a great example of it. Even I'm a great example of it, to be able to sit here and talk about it and be able to be stronger, because we're always going to be stronger together. I think it's what we have at the bottom of our kind of our motto is together, you know, we are stronger united. Okay. And that's really what it is that we're a group that's united and we are going to be stronger. And we're hoping that we can help the people that are having the issues, but also still draw attention to it. So we really appreciate you being here today, and being our kickoff person to our podcast. And, and like I said, I couldn't think of anybody more perfect to do it with us than to have non-visitor here. So I'm so happy. So thank you very much for the time.
Thank you all. It was a pleasure. Good luck with it.
Thanks, Nadal. Really appreciate it.
Very good.